Okay, I'm still vibrating with excitement because the Unleash Unstoppable podcast that Carol and I both host won 2 awards this past weekend. Okay, I think actually this started before recording, but that's okay. If you missed the excitement piece, I am just vibrating with excitement still today after we found out that Carol and I, for our podcast, the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast, won 2 awards this past weekend. So we won one award for the what was it, People's Choice Award, and the second one was the Big DG Award for one of our podcast episodes that Carol and I recorded, I think fairly on in the podcast, about really owning the power of your voice and being authentic and showing up authentically. And we're so excited. We've been doing the podcast for 3 years and we have over 160 episodes. And I know that's not what we're going to talk all about today, but I really want to come in and share this with you because, Peak has been, and I point to Andrew because obviously, like, it started with Andrew and our team and Jonathan, our podcast editor and video editor, and, supporting also with the content creation and supporting with the podcast over the years. So I wanted to start off celebrating, acknowledging Peak for the support, and just celebrating with each and every one of you because, of course, first and foremost for me, I always think about the neuroscience right behind the success, celebrating wins, and of course, really showing up as your true authentic self to create that know, like, and trust, right? To create that relationship with your audience. And so, of course, I feel like I wouldn't be in integrity if we didn't just share, what's going on in our world as an agency and also Carol and I's world with the podcast. And so we're so excited, to just celebrate that, sort of as a teamwork and effort with Peak and Unleash Unstoppable to create that with also Carol and our team with Jonathan and everything else. So I wanted to start off and share that with you today. I'm so excited about that. And it really leans into, our topic in regards to talking about, sales, enrollment, funnels, right? And so I'd love to ask you a question, and like, are you spending, hours and hours of your time on social media, right? Posting and being on the reels and all these things and creating content to drive traffic, but yet you're noticing you're not really seeing the results, right? I mean, and here's the thing, the reality is it's busy out there, right? And so when we are, coaches, thought leaders, business owners, and creators, of course, we got to get our business in front of people because if we're not, people don't know we exist. But there's a beautiful science to how you can do it, right? Like looking at consistency, looking at simplicity, and really being intentional with your efforts at looking at what is really going to move the needle forward with your potential customers and clients for them to actually go and click the buy button, right? The join button to make that deposit, to book that call, to actually start that partnership with you. So Andrew and I want to dive into that today to share one that you're not alone, right? I mean, the truth is that businesses really are spending a lot of energy these days on social media and content because the reality is once upon a time it was like, wasn't like you needed 7 touch points or 5 touch points before someone would like kind of go into that. Well, nowadays it's like 27 touch points, like 36 touch points. Like the touch points have multiplied. And what's really important to understand with these touch points, it's having multiple different touch points, multiple types of touch points, and having the foundation in place with these touch points because touch points unfortunately don't create that actual like commitment, right? There are certain things that you get to have in place that we'll dive into today that really support in going to that, making that next commitment, right? To really move the buyer forward, that decision forward, right? So Andrew, like let's dive into like when we talk about the should, right? And you guys know how I am with the shoulding, but we want to invite you to look at and really evaluate like where are you spending your time, attention, energy, and where could you shift things a little bit to really make sure that you really are spending your time, attention, energy in front of the people who are ready to go click, yes, I'm ready to commit.
Yeah. Okay. So, I guess for starters, because you mentioned all the touch points. Yes, there's tons of different touch points, different ways you can connect with your audience. But we'll just like as an overview. Often when you get looking through marketing, you'll probably stumble across the sales funnel. And sales funnel looks like your typical like V-shaped funnel, where the top of the funnel is often referred to as an awareness stage of the journey. The middle of the funnel is referred to as a consideration phase, and the bottom of the funnel is more towards, it's referred to as the decision phase. So you got like awareness, and that's like where people are just like, they're just getting to know you a bit, and yeah, just find out like what you're about. And so like a perfect example is like social media. People spend a ton of time on social media because to get those follows, those likes, and build that trust, because it's a great way to get to know your audience. So that's like the top of the funnel. In the middle of the funnel is like your consideration phase. So that's like where people are, they realize they got a problem to solve, and they're considering their options, and they're start doing their research, and so and so at that point there's like different ways, that different touch points that you can use to reach your audience. So the consideration phase, like I said, they're starting to compare options, doing the homework, and so common things are like blog posts you'll see, whether it's just like providing value of like how you can help, also like comparing, comparing like how your services compare to others perhaps sometimes, and then in your decision phase, that's where people are going to your sales funnel. They decide, they've narrowed down, as hence like the funnel. They've narrowed down their options, and they're comparing yours to other final solutions. And that's like reviewing your sales funnel, or checking out your sales funnel, perhaps checking out other testimonials so that like other people can vouch that you do great work. There's lots of touch points there that you can provide their value. So like the decision point though, that's the key part. That's the part that's where people make their decision to choose you over the competitors. And so the point of like one of the main objectives of this talk today is to sort of just acknowledge that a lot of people spend a ton of time at the top of that funnel on Facebook or Instagram, and getting, and it's great. These are great graphics. It's beautiful. You can get some great, lots of likes, and you might feel great. But you also notice after a while that it might take a while to get from that top of that funnel down to the bottom of the funnel. So we just wanted to highlight today that like there's a ton of energy at the top, but is that like the best use of your time? Like
Can I just also, I just want to like lean into the neuro coaching, right? Because of course right, Andrew just said something about the whole awareness piece. You might get a lot of likes, right? And you might get a lot of shares and views, and that feels really good. So on like the neuropsychology level, like we're looking at the neuro coaching piece, right? That feels really good. We get these dopamine hits, right? It's really easy to post, right? It's something easy, and our brains always look for the path of least resistance. And so it's so it's easier, right? That's the easy lane to stick into with the awareness piece of sharing what you're sharing what you're up to, getting those likes, looking for those quick dopamine hits. But unfortunately, here's the reality. The quick dopamine hits don't equate to necessarily the results that you're looking for, right? And so just having this awareness piece when you're in your business growing it is really, really powerful and important, right? Is to ask yourself, in this moment, am I, and I love this, the whole decide in advance, right? The decision part. Am I making a decision right now to go down the path of least resistance, that I'm going to get all the dopamine and it's going to feel really, really good? Or am I going to go down the path of the things that are actually going to get me in front of the people that are in the process of considering what I have to offer, right? That might create a little bit more resistance, but that's actually going to lead you down the path of result for your business, right? I was having a chat even with Carol this morning about the podcast, right? 3 years, 160 episodes, and it goes after consistency and simplicity, and really thinking about how to best put the efforts to create that, right? And so looking at that is that sometimes it doesn't always feel like the easiest thing to do, but it's the thing that's going to be contributing to create the greatest outcome, right? The biggest ROI in your business. So sorry, Andrew, I couldn't avoid not like singing in that, because I coach hundreds of coaches in their businesses growing, 6-figure and beyond businesses. And I see it. I see what the brain is up against when you're starting, growing, building and scaling your businesses, right? And we see that all the time with our digital agency clients is the same thing. We look at where are they willing to spend their time, and where are they willing, like what creates that resistancy. And that's why I want to speak into this, because our brain loves to say, like, brain loves familiarity and safety, which oftentimes will be in that awareness stage. It's a bit easier, right? But leaning into the phase of the consideration, right? Sorry, I'm very visual, so I appreciate this, right? The consideration phase to really get people to saying that yes in the decision, that's gonna require you to lean in, right? Lean into the uncomfortable, because the uncomfortable, that resistance on the other side of that, is the resultant outcome that you want for your business. So, okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, well, also like the main goal is to the awareness stage has its place. It's great to get people's attention, but you got to also focus on the like lower down the funnels, because lower down the funnels means getting closer for that person to become a client of yours. So I just wanted to sort of just ask the question, like, are you spending enough time at the bottom of the funnel that was the part that actually converts and turns them into an actual client of yours? Because a lot of people spend, as we say, a lot of people spend a lot of time at the top. So, but it's the bottom, is that foundation, is like clicking that buy button. Is that optimized? Does that resonate with your client? Are they like, is it speaking to them? And so we just want to sort of acknowledge and talk about, like, hey, like, instead of spending all of that time at the top here, what would it look like to flip the script and focus on making sure that the bottom of the funnel is optimized, and you spending that energy there, and then working your way backwards, so that by the time that people have like you build that know, like, and trust with them. It's the awareness phase, and they started to, like, in the consideration phase, consider you to some other options, and seeing what you do. That by the time they get to the bottom of the phase, they know that you're the right person, and you have a system in place that can, like, help them, and that they're ready to buy. So that's the biggest thing. Is to just really take a look at how that bottom of the funnel is looking, and how is that working for you, and how is that converting for those people that are turning into clients of yours.
So when you're saying take a look at, focus on the bottom of the funnel for the listener, like, what does that actually include, right? So when we're looking at our websites and we're building websites for clients, we spend time on certain factors of the website to really ensure that that is going to support, right? And again, typing into the psychology of supporting the buyer to take that action, right? Like, here's the thing. And it is the psychology. It's you showing up as your true authentic self, right? So that on the subconscious level, the person that's interacting with your content knows that you are being authentic and you're real. But on the other side, you also have to think about what's going on in the buyer's brain, right? What are the questions that they're asking? What's coming up for them? What are the limiting beliefs that are holding them back? What are the fears? What are the insecurities, right? So this is why I love this. This is why it was like a yes to join more with the agency and spend more time with this, because we get to think about that. Not just how you show up and what's over here, but what's going on with the person interacting with your stuff. Tapping into their brain, understanding that, right? And so that it's the journey that your customer client gets to go through as they interact with your stuff, right? So when we think about that on a website, right, and really looking at spending time on your website, because these are the things that can be missed when you're building your website, are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that we four things that we want to 4 or 5 things that we invite you to really look at and to consider, that maybe you're just like, maybe not even thinking about, or like, glazing over, but actually play a really important part in your website, and even, again, whatever you're putting out there. So what are these things, Andrew?
Well, it's like the main thing is your sales page, because at the end of the day, like, that's where the buy button is, right? So you want to make sure that that is optimized. Does it address their limiting beliefs or the problem they're trying to solve? Is it clear how you solve that problem? It's very essential to be included on a sales page. Does it include, like, testimonials or case studies to back that you've done it before, like that other people have shown that you've been able to help others, among other things? Like, and so, like, you really want to be able to talk to that audience, explain what you do, how you do it, and that you're the right fit for them, and backed by, like, testimonials, case studies, other social proof. So those are like that's why it's such a foundational piece, to really make sure that, like, does your sales pages, or does it address that, and is it optimized for the problem that you solve for people?
And I think what's important to address with the testimonials, it's not just like these are the great results, but this is the journey, right? The before and after. So the person who's looking at and reading the testimonial can picture themselves, see themselves in that person, create that emotional connection. And then they're like, okay, so they're just like me and look at the results. So this can be me too. The other important thing is, to counter, like address objections, and then limited beliefs is having that FAQ section, right? So frequently asked questions, so you can already again address that, because the brain is automated for that 90% of negativity. So the brain is automatically going to have some of that resistance, so you can address those objections right away. Is really going to support, again, with creating that ease and like, this person gets me, they understand what my brain's, what's going on internally here, and creating that minimizing that resistance that the brain is up against in making that decision, in making that action, right? And so I think, yeah, those are 4 things, right? So like looking at optimizing your sales pages, right? Looking at your testimony and reviews, is it really speaking, connecting with your ideal client, your ideal customer, and like what they're looking for? Really looking at your your FAQ section, right, to deal with those objections, to make, to tackle like what's going to go on up here. And of course, looking at your case studies, results, so that someone can experience and feel, oh my goodness, this is what the transformation gets to look like, right? So just really important to think about those things when you're showing up. And again, it's taking it out of who you are, but also and putting yourself in the position of your ideal client. And I would like to, because especially with clients that I deal with, like 90% of the time, that ideal client is like your version 1.0, right? So you're now version 2.0. They want the 2.0 or the 3.0, transformation. So go back to you being version 1.0 in supporting with that transition, that transformation to the result that you are enrolling into, right? When it comes to your website and your services. Does that sum it all up?
That sums it up. It's the key thing is to really review that bottom of the funnel. Is it that foundational piece? Is it strong? And then work backwards from that. Once that's strong, then you can look at things in the consideration phase, like blog posts that support, that will like to continue to build that trust with the person, to want them to like drop into your sales page and then make that purchase and continue. And then once that's good to go, then you can like continue on with like the top of funnel and creating content that will then encourage people to kind of work their way down in the funnel and get by getting to know you, and then ideally signing up to work with you. So just the whole idea of this today was just to kind of like, let's like take for a second, flip the switch, flip the funnel on its head, and like focus on like the key things, and then getting those essentials in order, and then work your way backwards. Instead of spending all your time at the top of the funnel, let's start at the bottom and work our way up and see what happens.
And here's the thing, we have our website audits that can support you in like being able to identify this, right? Because it's not always clear. It's not something that you're naturally looking for, right? That's where our expertise comes in, where we take a look at, running the audit, and then, jumping on a call with Andrew to be able to look at, where can you make some tweaks? Where is it not landing? Where is it maybe too much from your side, and we're not really connecting with that ideal client, right? On the psychology level, and really connecting on that subconscious, right? Content is so powerful, and it's like the silent conversion, because it's not something that we're walking around thinking of, right? That's where we get to spend a lot of our time thinking and connecting about that. So yeah, connect with us, grab a website audit. We'd love to collaborate with you and partner with you and really support you, right? Like I said before, it's easy to stay in the lane of least resistance when it comes to where you're putting your time, effort, and energy, but is where you're spending your time right now really converting, really creating customers and clients, and help you grow your business so that you're actually building a business and not always, a hobby. We want to make sure that your time is best spent on what's going to really grow your business. I'm always a stand for burnout and not having you work harder. We want you to work smarter and really tap into, the piece where it's going to make the biggest difference in your business, because that's where the people are there ready to make a decision to be able to move forward to work with you. So we want to make sure that is set up for success. So you're not spending all your time up here, but you're really optimizing on over here. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.